Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's time to get back to rebuilding teams on this channel. Welcome to the Arizona Cardinal Madden 19 rebuild. That's right, everybody. We're heading down to Arizona, joining the NFC West, and we are trying to rebuild the Arizona Cardinals in this series. I spent a lot of time thinking about who I thought would be the right team to rebuild for this series that succeeded the Cleveland Browns 0-16 rebuild. Well, it's hard to follow up that series with how perfect everything was, but we're gonna do our best in this one, and we're gonna make our owner today a former player. Our owner in this series is going to be one of my favorite players to ever come across either of my channels, the shutdown corner, Nate Bell. That's who's taking over the Cardinals now as we get into the series. There are a lot of reasons that I picked the Arizona Cardinals for this series, but at the top of that list is that I'm really intrigued at how rebuilding this team is going to go. So with the Arizona Cardinals, we have a team that was just a couple years ago 13-3. That was back in 2015. But it sure feels like a lot of time has passed with where the team is at presently. They just drafted a brand new quarterback in Josh Rosen after Carson Palmer retired. They have a few key standouts on this roster like David Johnson and Patrick Peterson, two excellent players, also Chandler Jones and Larry Fitzgerald. But this team really is a mix of these star players and then just a lot of players who are maybe average talents or maybe can develop further or are older. This roster, I find it to be so intriguing because it's just so incomplete. When I do these kinds of series, I look for different kinds of challenges, and Arizona has one that I'm really ready to embrace. First off, with this new feature in Madden 19 with the schemes, the Cardinals just don't really fit their schemes that well. Out of all the teams that I've seen, I think they're among the worst as far as just fitting the scheme they want to run. And this year, having that scheme fit is really important to developing players over the long run. And with the Cardinals, there's this dilemma. Because yes, there are some cornerstone players you can absolutely build around. But by the time everything else is where it needs to be, where are those cornerstone players? That is the question that makes me choose this team for this rebuild. Because Patrick Peterson is 28. Chandler Jones is 28. Larry Fitzgerald is 35. This could very well be his last season. Then you have David Johnson, who is very good. He's 26, but he is a running back, and that's not the position that's going to move the needle the most. There are a number of holes on this team, and there are a number of holes that are going to be here before too long. So I love these rebuilds where I can do a lot of drafting, a lot of my choices affect the future. We don't just sit here developing a bunch of players. That's a different kind of rebuild I've done before with like the Carolina Panthers in a past franchise. This is really going to be a rebuild where we try to go get as much young talent as we can, and we try to do it while some of these players still have a lot to give the team. Like Patrick Peterson, how long is it going to be before he's not a top tier corner any longer? Or how about Chandler Jones at pass rusher? It's incredible what's happened to the NFC West in just the past 6 or 7 years. We've seen the top of that division change hands so much. It wasn't that long ago that the 49ers were in a Super Bowl and they had this loaded roster and had one of the best teams in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks defense was so good, it seemed like they were going to be set for a decade plus. Maybe not that much, but their defense was incredible. And now the Legion of Boom is a shell of its former self. And out of nowhere come the LA Rams with maybe the best defensive player in football in Aaron Donald. They went out this year and added Ndamukong Suh, Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters. How do they still have cap space? I'm not sure. But this team is one that had the biggest turnaround last season, and not only do they have now an exciting offense with head coach Sean McVay, but they have a fearsome defense. The Rams lead this division now, but the Seahawks still have Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, and Doug Baldwin. San Francisco went and got Richard Sherman, so he's still going to be an issue for us. And they also got Jimmy Garoppolo. And if his future pans out the way they hope it does, San Francisco's going to be competing for this division title. So what I love about this opportunity is just we have a lot of work to do. And we got some tough teams in our way. That's the kind of challenge I want for this one. So what we're going to do today is just continue getting familiar with this team and talking about where I want to take them from here. Now, we're not going to get into a game today. That's going to be in the next video. We're going to get right into week 1. I'll go through preseason and stuff. This is just because I want to start the series here and get practice squad stuff squared away. Not a big deal. We're going to focus mainly on the 53-man roster right now and just talk about my thoughts going forward with this team and getting underway. So outside of these core players here at the top, what can we do moving forward? Well, at safety, there is Trey Boston, who came over this year in free agency. They got him on a very cheap contract. Boston has very good coverage, very good speed. I feel he could be a long-term safety for us in this series. It's still a head-scratcher to me that they got rid of Tyrann Mathieu. I would have loved to have him in this series, but now that's not going to happen. With these series, I also look for the players that are really young that we can develop and build with for a long time to come. And I hope that BUODA Baker is one of those players. What's intriguing to me about BUODA Baker is that he's a 79 overall without really any skills in coverage here. That's really surprising for a safety to have man and zone coverage that low. But we're going to find a role for him on this team. I'm not sure if it's going to be at sub linebacker because that's going to be Deon Buchanan's role, but I think that if we develop Baker the right way and we get lucky, because now the development of players is not going to be the same way that it was. It's now the archetype system. But if we get lucky and we get enough skill points for him, we're going to have a really intriguing player. I love the speed and range. His tackling ability stands out right now. We just got to boost up that coverage. And we can't have this conversation without talking about the chosen one, Josh Rosen out of UCLA, the rookie quarterback. Now, we began the Browns series with going after a quarterback, and we selected Anton Greenberry. This time around, we're rolling with the player that is already there, Josh Rosen. Now, I liked Rosen's skill set a lot at UCLA. I feel like his short accuracy and medium accuracy give him a pretty good floor as a quarterback. We hopefully can work on the deep accuracy and everything else with his game. We also have Sam Bradford on the team, but I really do believe in Josh Rosen. I don't think that Bradford's going to have much of a role in this series. Bradford, I think, is a really good quarterback when he's healthy. I'm a Viking fan, and I think he played his best football in Minnesota, and when he was healthy, he happened to be pretty effective. But I just don't think that with Josh Rosen on this team that there's a need to play Bradford. We also have Mike Glennon here. I'm not really sure why they signed him exactly. I'd like to go get another young quarterback just to have as a backup for the future because neither Bradford nor Glennon are going to be that player. Then we have David Johnson, of course, at running back. I really like DJ coming out of the draft, but I never expected he'd become one of the 2 or 3 best running backs in the NFL. 93 elusive back at 224 pounds. One of the best receiving backs. 92 speed, 96 break tackle. We had Perry Cummings in the Browns rebuild have a big role for us, while David Johnson's going to have that role on this team. Now, there's a lot of work to do outside of the offense, even with Rosen and Johnson, but we sure have somewhere to start that's pretty cool. Everyone loves Larry Fitzgerald. I've always enjoyed watching him. I cannot believe he's already played 14 years. I remember him when he was a rookie. That's incredible. Larry Fitzgerald probably playing the last year of his career this season. Sadly, the Cardinals aren't in a better spot for him to maybe go out with a chance at a Super Bowl. I don't think of the Cardinals as a Super Bowl team or a playoff team right now, especially in that division. There's so much they'd have to overcome to even get in that conversation. But if Larry sticks around for more than a year, I do think he can still make plays. But wow. His receiver core looks pretty thin outside of him, and when you consider his retirement, we're probably going to be drafting some receivers in this series, and I really enjoy doing that. Now, there is a rookie here we can work with in Christian KIRK out of Texas A&M. He fits the slot archetype, and he has very good speed, good short route runner. I think Larry Fitzgerald is the obvious slot receiver in year one, but I think Christian KIRK takes over his role moving forward. Jermaine Gresham is a good blocker, but I think that the tight end we're going to want to watch in this series is Ricky Seals-Jones, also from Texas A&M. He doesn't have many catches in his career, but a lot of people are raving about his athleticism and upside in today's NFL with the type of tight end that he is. There's some work to do, but we'll see if Seals-Jones can become a big part of our passing game because we're going to need someone to step up. Now with this offensive line, we are not going to have anything like we saw in the Browns rebuild, where we started out with like 4/5 of a great line. Right now, we're not doing too well in that department. We have Justin Pugh as the highest rated offensive lineman. He's an 80 overall, and he's not likely to get much better at age 28. So, I mean, we got ROSEN, but that line, I do have to consider maybe not playing him too much to risk injury, but when you consider this offensive line and the situation at receiver, this offense might not be that good right away, even with a promising quarterback, a good receiver in Larry Fitzgerald, and a great running back in David Johnson. We have so much work to do here. Justin Pugh, Andre Smith, Mikey Apati, those guys are done developing. They're getting worse at this stage of their careers. So I got a lot of work to do there. Defensively, there are some more players we get to work with here, but it's just so incomplete. It's hard to believe this team was so good just a couple years ago, and now it really is a rebuild with a few superstars mixed into the roster. Chandler Jones, it's great that we have a premier edge rusher. They can be hard to find, but we have a player who should be good now for still a number of years, and we have him under contract for a while. We also have Marcus Golden, a player I liked a lot a few years ago coming out of Missouri. Unfortunately, he was hurt last season, and we'll hopefully see him get back to the form he showed early in his career, where he had, I think, 12 sacks as a rookie or something incredible like that. Let's actually check that right here. Marcus Golden, 12.5 in his second season, so a huge boost there in sacks. I hope that we still can see him become an above-average starter. Another player I hope develops quickly in this series is Robert Nkemdiche. I didn't think it would take so long for him to develop in his NFL career, but we're into year 2, and we're still waiting for a lot to happen. So he's playing defensive tackle. I think that he can be a pretty good 3-technique pass rusher, but certainly the development isn't there yet, but he is a scheme fit. There's a good chance I make him a focus player in year 1 as well. At linebacker, we don't have many high-rated players, but we do have some interesting types of talents. Deone Bucannon, drafted as a safety, now this hybrid that everybody likes. Safeties who can double as linebackers, but it's all about if you can do one of those jobs well. And for Deone Bucannon, his main strength is going to be in the running game. He doesn't actually cover that well despite the safety background. So we have 89 speed, 92 hit power, and his tackle traits are pretty good. We'll be developing Haason Reddick alongside him. He's in his second year out of Temple. Another really versatile linebacker. There's a fun mix of players here. So Haason Reddick, again, very rangy. We're super fast at linebacker. Also a pretty good run stopper. So we have two players who seem to fit the same role. Where's the coverage linebacker in all this? We're going to have to find that player. I'm not sure if Gerald HODGES can do that job. He's 27 years old. And yeah, his man coverage ratings aren't very good either, or his zone coverage ratings. So covering backs out of the backfield, we have the speed to do it, but not the coverability necessarily. That's always an interesting dilemma. But overall, this is a team that it's just not complete in any way. And by the time we get somewhere, where are the cornerstones going to be? That's what I ask as this series gets underway. In the secondary, we also have Jamar Taylor alongside Patrick Peterson. I think Taylor is a solid player, but in today's NFL, you need 3 cornerbacks, and we only have 2 that are highly rated. Bené Benwikere comes over after 4 years, a lot of that time spent in Carolina. We're going to have to work on that position. Oh, and I'm also going to have to draft a punter and a kicker because I think these players are both among the oldest of their positions. Phil Dawson is 43 and still kicking, and Andy Lee's 36. I remember Phil Dawson for the Browns when I first got into football. that he's still kicking field goals and stuff. Here are the older players on the roster that in a series like this might not be here for a very long time. We're going to go through things a lot like we did in the beginning of the Browns rebuild, where we sat in on a few games, we took a few episodes per season, and really got to know what this team was all about before getting to the end of things. So, we're going to start out with week 1, do a little bit of simming, and we'll find the key games during the season that we want to sit in on while we evaluate the team and think about how we can get them better for the future. So we open our season in week 1 at home against the Washington Redskins. We have the Rams though in week 2, and that's a team I definitely want to see us play against. We don't play the Rams again until week 16, so I don't know, I might have to watch weeks 1 and 2. And then week 4 is the Seattle game and the 49er game. This schedule actually looks pretty tough. The Bears game isn't going to be easy. The Broncos are a more talented team than Arizona right now, I'd say. San Francisco's on the rise. The AFC West is just kind of an annoying division to face. The Chiefs games aren't going to be fun. The Chargers can rush the passer as good as anybody. We play the NFC North, so the Vikings and Packers are on our schedule. That is going to be a tough slate of games for us to make a lot of progress here in year 1. Also in this series, what I think I'm going to do, and you can let me know what you think about this, but I am going to use XP sliders like I do in my main franchise series. I didn't do it in the Browns series. I didn't really think that I needed to. I thought it played out pretty well, but I like the sliders here from T-Dog on the Operation Sports forums. So right now, I'm counting on using these XP sliders. I'm actually not going to be entering them right now because I need to. What I do when I start these up is I put all the XP sliders at 0, and then I sim through preseason so we get like a clean slate in week 1. That way there's no development right now in the preseason. There are some things I'm going to do before we get into the next episode, like I need to get the picks for Khalil Mack on the Raiders, and I have to get the Teddy Bridgewater pick to New Orleans. Just a few things I need to get squared away. Next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to get into week 1. We're going to take a look at a few more players I'm going to add to our practice squad and just get into the season and start to see what this team is all about. This series is also starting differently than my Browns rebuild because we're starting at the beginning of a series, or the beginning of a season, instead of the end. So we don't get to jump right into an off season to start building this team. Year 1 instead is going to be about finding who we think is actually a part of this team's future, and then getting ready for an off season where we hope to get a lot accomplished. What picks do we have, by the way? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, our full slate of 7 picks. We didn't give up anything this last off season, so we're good there. And that's gonna about do it for this episode. Again, I know it's not like the most jam-packed episode with a ton in here. Just wanted to run through the roster and give you an idea of what I wanted to do with this series. I do want this to be another long-term rebuild series. The Browns series lasted 18 years, but it wasn't because I wanted to go like to a certain number or anything. I wanted to see Anton Greenberry's career all the way through. With this series, we'll see where things go. We'll see what players we get attached to, and we'll see what kind of experience we want this to be. I do feel like there's a little bit of pressure to follow up the Browns rebuild with how awesome I thought that series was. But I hope you all are excited for the new journey here with the Arizona Cardinals. There were a lot of teams recommended that many of you wanted to see. I'm trying to do a series with as many teams as I can throughout all these games. But right now we're going to focus on the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm hoping that you're ready for a fun series. I like this division, I like the challenge with this team, and I'm ready for it. So if you are as well, let me know down below in the comment section. Also remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you are excited for this series. And the next episode will be coming your way here in a couple days as we get into the first game of the series. And we'll also do a little bit more work with the team. Have a great day, and I'll see you then.